When I've done it in the past, it's usually been just one member either against one member or one member against the whole party. I'm not sure I've ever tried like the whole party before because it's an intimidating idea. So your players want to fight evil versions of themselves. Would you just create an inverse of the character ability-wise and make it like Bizarro, or just fight themselves but evil? So I've done like versions of this, kind of, right, in different ways. But a whole party is sort of a different thing. Because the problem is, like, let's say that you have a 4 to 5 person party. The biggest problem, it's really difficult and time consuming to run PCs as monsters. Player characters are for player characters. Monster stat blocks are for dungeon masters. This runs parallel to I think the idea that I believe in, which is that a dungeon master should never have to like read a spell in order to cast it. I think all this stuff should operate differently. Second biggest problem, player versus player is a slog. Again, this comes from anytime you've run player versus player. Like it's really hard to kill a party. It's really hard for a party to take themselves out. A few different ways I've gone about this in the past. Like you can, here's what I'll say. Here's maybe pitch number one. Every evil member is a fight. So this is kind of what I've done in the past in different ways, right? Like if you have effectively an evil group that is sort of made up of party members, then rather than have one fight, you actually have like 4 or 5 fights. So let's say that your party is like a bard. Let's say you've got a wizard. Maybe you have a barbarian. Maybe you have a fighter. Maybe like a sorcerer. And obviously, right, going back to that biggest problem, running 5 player characters as a DM is impossible. Like, I guess it could be possible. Somebody could do it. So at the very least, we have to convert all of those player characters into monster stat blocks, but oof, that's a lot. Second biggest problem though is that it becomes a slog. Imagine your party of this many characters fighting a party, an evil party of that many characters, right? So what if instead the bard is like think of fighting the evil party like a boss rush, a series of fights, each focused on an evil aspect of the party member, exaggerated to an extreme. Because evil mirror, kind of interesting, but evil mirror and then sort of even enhanced. Think of it like an evil future self, right? So, for instance, the bard might have a chorus to back him up, and is a star, right? And that you can sort of like take inspiration from the party's abilities, but really you're creating an evil, an evil character based on their current builds, but bigger. So now you've got the bard, but it's now it's a boss fight. The bard is the boss, but then the chorus of whoever they bring with them is sort of like the henchmen that fight alongside. The wizard might craft a dungeon specifically based on the party's wizard's let's call it eccentricities. Barbarian. So the idea, yeah, that's the idea here, et cetera, right? Every evil member is a fight. That's one way to do it. I mean, obviously, yeah. I mean, you could always convert each PC sheet into a monster stat block. I mean, I guess eventually you are going to do that anyway. I would recommend I would recommend yet again Flea Mortals. Uh, it's the monster book by MCDM, Matt Colville's gaming company. Towards the back, and I've used this a bunch of times, both directly but also as inspiration. They basically built villain parties for I think like third, eighth, 12th, 20th level, like these different levels of like villain parties, and they all sort of coordinate and work together. The thing about this is to do this, and I guess I'm kind of suggesting you do that with every evil member as its own boss fight, but I think that's you're taking one at a time and you're building a whole combat scenario. It feels a little bit different because then you have other monsters and maybe it's a dungeon, you have all sorts of things that can support. If you're trying to create, a group of these relatively complex stat blocks that all work together, I think this is a pretty high level design goal. I think this is a pretty tricky thing to do. Um, another version of this is that the whole fight could be a gimmick. Mirror versions of the party might take damage and then reflect those actions back on to the party. Like, I don't even know how obvious it would be to me right off the bat to see these like evil mirror kind of shimmery versions of the party come out, and then I imagine like the wizard casts, catapult on maybe their other wizard, and they're going to roll and you're going to do all the rolls, and you could just use the stats of your players, and then whatever the bard does, the evil bard does in return. After a first round or two rounds of them doing back to them whatever, maybe some things would make it really obvious, maybe other things wouldn't make it really obvious. Kind of dangerous way to go because, well, two problems with this. So the nice part is you don't have to do a bunch of work ahead of time. The two problems, though, are likely to be a long fight, a slog. Also, results of the fight are kind of a coin flip. That helps because trying to stat block 5 level 13 PCs terrify me, as it should. Yeah, Flea Mortals could definitely help. I think you could probably like a good shortcut because I think all of these ideas could be neat. Like I think even this one could be fun as like a I might even this could even be a fun side shot when like the rest of the party not maybe not you know just like a fun aside, like have them fight mirror versions of themselves without those words and see if they can figure it out. I do think it would be a long fight. I do think it's possible they wouldn't get it because even if you're mirroring back exactly what the party does back to them, are they going to notice? Are they going to be able to pick up on that? Um, and if you're basically taking the barbarian hits, you do the same barbarian attacks back to them. They hit the dice rolls. It's basically like a coin flip who survives. I'm not sure that ends up being very much fun. I'm not sure that there's a clever way for the party to outsmart that anyway. Perhaps maybe the important thing to make it feel like your party are just like kind of some touches over the top, and you can just use the structure of one of those suggested groups. I think you can get. I'm leaning towards this is probably this is the way to go to make it feel most fleshed out. Also, you could still probably take this and expand it into every single one of them as a boss encounter. I personally like if you guys are level 13, if you have been playing with this group for a long time, it might be fun to feature either solo or in pairs, right? To flesh out a boss fight for like each of they might really enjoy everybody might enjoy the full focus of like the evil wizard with their acolytes from, the alternate dimension, whatever the situation is. Everybody might enjoy that full focus in each situation of what the evil version of that character might be. I don't know, maybe. It's a fun idea. When I've done it in the past, it's usually been just one member either against one member or one member against the whole party. not sure I've ever tried like the whole party before because it's an intimidating idea. But sometimes the most worthwhile ideas are kind of intimidating.